Universal Casualty, Super Q,
los Miami Dolphins y tú, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Son los Dolphins, nuestros Miami Dolphins, el team número 1 en toda la nación. Y son ellos orgullo de Miami y de todos los latinos en la capital del sol. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Este año no me hablen de los Redskins, no me hablen de los Chargers, ni de los Dallas Cowboys, porque los Dolphins son número 1 y lo demostrarán al llegar al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Nuestra línea está mejor que nunca y nuestra defensiva fue siempre la mejor. Y es por eso que yo no tengo duda que los Miami Dolphins ganarán el Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, con los Miami Dolphins, rumbo al Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins me voy para el Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins me voy para el Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins me voy para el Super Bowl. Con los Miami Dolphins me voy para el Super Bowl.
Universal Casualty
Y Super Q, los primeros. Bueno, caballero, todo el mundo que cante con nosotros. Dame una D, dame una O, dame una L, dame una P, una H, una I, una N, una S. ¿Qué es lo que tenemos? Miami Dolphins. Me voy para el Super Bowl. 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 Me voy para el Super Bowl.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
There's a team that's in our hearts. We've got love that won't depart.
Miami Dolphin fans, and welcome to the Same Old Dolphins Show, part of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. I'm Josh Katzker. With me today and every day is my brother from the exact same mother, Aaron the Brain. Aaron, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people.
So, Brain, you've had a few days to, let's just say, recover from what the Miami Dolphins did on Monday night at home against the Tennessee Titans. How you feeling now?
I don't know. I like turned the page on it. I honestly, it was like, I know a lot of people, basically said the season was over after that Seattle game, and I was teetering on the pulse check, and I have toppled over. And so now I'm right there with you. And then the news of Jaylen Phillips being out for the year, and it's just like, this thing has been doomed from the start. It was doomed before it started. I just want to get through the season.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, it has really gone from, the Dolphins didn't play well in that week 1 game against Jacksonville, but they came away with the win. And so you had everybody kind of fired up going into this big game against Buffalo. And you thought, well, Buffalo, it took them a while to defeat Arizona. And you thought, okay, there's a pretty good chance we could beat the Bills and be 2-0, first place in the division, and be moving and be doing things in a good way. And then they have a putrid game against Buffalo, which is already going poorly. Then Tua gets hurt, and it feels like the bottom has completely dropped out. And then, you sort of recover, and you're like, well, let's see what Coach McDaniel is made of. And you go to one of the toughest road environments in the league, and you play Seattle with Skylar Thompson, who's been with the team for 3 years and who should know the system and who you think is going to do okay and at least manage to bridge the gap until Tua maybe comes back. And it's a complete disaster. And you think, okay, that's a complete disaster. Let's come home. We've got the Titans on Monday night. They're 0-3. We're at home. Snoop Huntley is a former Pro Bowler. And granted, we know why he's a former Pro Bowler. It's not because he's necessarily a great skilled quarterback and one of the best quarterbacks in the league. It's just that year he was Lamar's backup, and other people were either injured or decided not to play in the Pro Bowl. And so he got the call eventually. But you felt, okay, maybe he brings a little something different to the table, and Mike McDaniel will have learned from his failure to adapt in the Seattle game. So he'll adapt things for Snoop Huntley on Monday night and things will get better. Nope. Same thing. Exact same thing, trying to do everything, trying to stuff everything into Tyler Huntley's head in like 2 weeks and trying to get him set to go. And it didn't work out. And so that was a disaster. And then you lose Jaelan Phillips in the game. It looks like he's ruled out very quickly. So you think, okay, he's going to miss some time. That's a bummer, but hopefully it's nothing too serious. Then a few days later, you find out, nope, he's going to have surgery and he's going to miss the rest of the season. And suddenly it just really feels like every time you think it can't get worse for the Miami Dolphins, it does get worse for the Miami Dolphins, which, I mean, that's a pretty same old Dolphins thing, right? The same old Dolphins thing to happen is just when you think it can't get worse for the Dolphins, it manages to get worse. And so here we are now, Brain. Dolphins are at 1-3 and now have lost Jaelan Phillips for the season and now are preparing to go to New England to take on the equally sad New England Patriots. Maybe this is going to be the cure that ails the Miami Dolphins, or maybe the Dolphins' continued self-immolation will go on. But before we talk about that, Brain, I want to remind everybody, if you're not doing so already, to make sure you're following us on all of the various social media platforms. You can follow me at Amplified to Rock. You can follow Aaron at Aaron the Brain. The show is at Same Old Dolphins. You can download, rate, review, and subscribe to the Same Old Dolphins Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, everywhere that you get your podcasts. You can subscribe to the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel, which we highly recommend. Turn on notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Make sure you're visiting dolphinstalk.com each and every day. It is your one-stop shop for all things Miami Dolphins. And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't also mention Dolphins Talk Extra. Dolphins Talk Extra, which is at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. You can get extra bonus content from us multiple times a week. If you're a Dolphins Talk Extra subscriber, you were able to participate in our live watch along on Monday during the Titans game. You got to see me go on an absolutely epic rant towards the end of the game. And I also want to say that if you're a Dolphins Talk Extra subscriber, today's bonus segment is inspired by that rant. So if you're not a Dolphins Talk Extra subscriber, maybe think about becoming one. Patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. As little as $3 a month. It's going to be a good time to do that because there's going to be a lot of extra conversation going on over there as we recover from, well, a pretty rough start to the season for the Miami Dolphins. So, Brain, before we get into the Dolphins-Patriots game, which we're going to talk about, we do need to talk about this Jaelan Phillips situation because, first and foremost, absolutely brutal for Jaylen Phillips. By all accounts, he's an incredible human being, a wonderful person, both on field and off. And to have him coming back from his Achilles injury and looking really good, really strong, to now have this knee injury rear its ugly head. It's it's just heartbreaking for the player.
Yeah, it's brutal. Hell of a player, hell of a guy, struggled with injuries throughout college, had a medical retirement before he came back, and then played at a high enough level to parlay that into becoming a first-round pick for the Dolphins. Career going at just a great trajectory before the injury last season. And that one was as heartbreaking as it was with, everything that was happening with his career and the trajectory and, coming into a year where you could start talking about contract extension. That immediately gets put on hold because of a season-ending Achilles injury. Then you get him doing everything possible to beat the odds and be ready for the start of the season. And a month into the season, it's over. And you're now looking at like he needs to go back to the drawing board, start from scratch. And he's got a whole new, and now it's a knee, gonna get his surgery and then go back to square one as far as rehabbing. It's just, I feel awful for him. And it sucks for the team as well. There's not really a silver lining there because it doesn't really help you from a financial standpoint. In fact, it hurts you from a financial standpoint too, because the idea was, well, if he plays really, really well and he's proves that he's 100% healthy, then you're probably going to give him a contract extension. And now, you've picked up his 5th-year option. He's going to play on that 5th-year option because you're not going to give him a contract extension at this point until you know that he's healthy. And so, next year you're paying him at a 1-year guaranteed cap hit. So it's just bad all around. It's bad vibes, and it just sucks for the guy in general. So, I wish him the best of luck with a speedy recovery. And I hope that this time next year, Jaelan Phillips is back and he's wreaking havoc in opposing teams' backfields. But at this point, it just sucks. Like so many things with this team right now, it just sucks. And that was like the icing on the cake.
It's really like when the Dolphins are snake bit, they're completely snake bit. It's like it's just unbelievable how bad it can get for them. And yet again, we got another example of it. So obviously sending the best wishes to Jaylen Phillips and hope that he gets better soon. Because this man, just brutal luck for him. And with his contract, he's going to come back next year and more than likely end up playing on his 5th-year option. Although I'd imagine that what happens with him and what happens with his contract is entirely dependent on what happens with the Dolphins front office and head coaching situation. And as things stand right now, there's a lot in that department that remains to be seen. But Brain, let's turn our attention to some positive news.
There's positive news?
Well, I mean, there's positive news, if you want to view it that way, from the fact that Teron Armstead is progressing through the concussion protocol, as is Kendall Fuller. We got full practices from Cam Smith and Jeff Wilson. We also got a full practice from one Odell Beckham Jr. And this is an interesting one because I think there's probably an argument that if Tua Tagovailoa is starting a quarterback and has never gotten injured, and the Dolphins offense is firing on all cylinders, which, to be clear, it has not really ever done this season. I mean, in fact, I think it's safe to say that the Dolphins offense has not fired on all cylinders since the Black Friday game last season. But
I wouldn't say the offense fired on all cylinders in that game. I wouldn't say the offense fired on all cylinders. I would say the Washington game last year.
I think that's probably, I think it's been since that game, right? But at any rate, if the Dolphins offense was firing on all cylinders, I think there would be an argument that, let's work Odell into this. Let's let him practice with the team. Let's get him some reps with Tua. Let's get all of that before we throw him into the mix. But based on how things have gone so far, and based on the idea that I think Mike McDaniel is going to be forced to simplify things this week, because if he goes out there and does the same thing for a 3rd straight game without making any changes, there's going to be if you think if people are calling for his head now, I can't imagine what they're going to be doing after this upcoming Sunday. But assuming the offense is going to get simplified for Tyler Huntley and to just make sure that this offense can function at all, because I mean, it has not really at any time this season looked like a functioning NFL offense. Would you say that actually maybe there's a better chance that we actually do see Odell Beckham as early as this Sunday against the Patriots?
I mean, if he's out there practicing and in full, why not?
I don't have an argument for why not. I mean, I'm at the point where it's like this team needs all the help they can get, and they need it as soon as they can get it. So friggin' throw him out there.
Yeah, I think that if he's out there and he's practicing in full and not just on the side doing individual drills, then I think he's practicing with the intent of playing. And it's like, I mean, at this point, who's his competition for the number 3 wide receiver? I mean, Malik Washington and Braxton Berrios, D. Eskridge. I mean,
yeah,
he's definitely if he's healthy and he gets a full week of practice in, I think you're going in with that as him as your number 3 receiver. And again, I said this coming into the season with him, even before they announced he was going to go on the PUP, even if he was to come out and play in week 1, even Odell Beckham at 100% health, is at this point going to be relied on to probably play, I don't know, 15 to 20, 25 snaps a game total. So he's going to make a difference. He's a big upgrade over what you've got at your number 3 wide receiver position, but it's not like you're asking him to go out there and play 45, 50 snaps. You're not going out there with the expectation of him being a number 1 or even a number 2 receiver. If he gets a full week of practice in, I absolutely think there are packages for him.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if there wasn't, right? It feels like he's been involved he's been around So he's got to, and he's a veteran receiver. So you would think it's probably safe to say that he's going to feel relatively comfortable. I mean, and he previously played for the Rams, so he has some familiarity with a similar offense as it stands. So I don't know. Feels to me like it's likely we may see him, but then again, Mike McDaniel and his habits, he's very deliberate about when he allows people to get involved on the field. So maybe we'll see him, maybe we don't. But either way, the Dolphins offense is coming into this game against the New England Patriots, and they have struggled to function. But they are going up against the New England Patriots team, a New England Patriots team that is, by the way, one of the few teams in the NFL with a longer injury list than the Miami Dolphins. Their Thursday practice report says David Andrews, their center, is a DNP. Kyle Duggar, their safety, is a DNP. KJ Osborne, receiver, is a DNP. Caden Wallace, their tackle, is a DNP. Kendrick Bourne, limited. Anthony Jennings, linebacker, limited. Jonathan Jones is a cornerback, and he was limited. Marcus Jones, another cornerback, just popped up on the report today on Thursday with a limited. Michael Jordan, Nick Everett, Vidarian Lowe, Marte Mapu, Jabril Peppers, Layden Robinson, Sione Takitaki. All of these guys, limited participation. And then Jaheim Bell, their tight end, upgraded to full participant in today's practice. So, I mean, this is a beat-up team here, Brain. Do you think that the Dolphins maybe should have a leg up on this Patriots defense?
I don't think this Dolphins offense.
That response is worth $1 million.
I mean, look, I don't know how you can. The Dolphins could have. Look, it's not like the Dolphins offense is bereft of talent. You've got Tyreek Hill, you've got Jalen Waddle, you've got Devon Achane. Heck, you've got Jonnu Smith. And then you're going to throw Odell Beckham into the mix. The talent on the skill positions on the outside and in the backfield is not the issue, but. And frankly, as much as maligned as the offensive line has been, really the offensive line hasn't been the big issue either in these last couple of games. The real issue is that there's bad quarterback play. The offense as a whole has looked completely unprepared, and the coach is not doing a good job of tailoring his game plan to the quarterback that is running it. And so what you have is this huge disconnect and this cluster bleep that they've been throwing out there the last 2 weeks. So like at this point, with what we've seen for the last 8 quarters, hell, for what we've seen for the last 10 quarters, I don't know how you'd say the Dolphins offense has a leg up on anybody. I don't care how many injuries they have. The saving grace of this game is that the Patriots offense has been worse than the Dolphins offense. And I'm not even talking about over the course of the last of the entire 4 weeks of the season. I mean, just in the last 3 weeks where the Dolphins have been at their worst, they've still been better on a yards per play basis than the New England Patriots, who over the last 3 games have averaged a paltry 3.8 yards per play. So if I know, granted, that game on Monday night really should have gone under, and it was just extremely
Poor Fish
fluky.
Pilot. Fish Pilot. Our buddy Fish Pilot from Dolphins Talk Extra. He was robbed.
But this game really should go under because these are the 2 worst offenses in the league. If the Dolphins obviously they don't have Tua. So the Dolphins without Tua and the Patriots are the 2 worst offenses in the league. The only saving grace that I could think of is that the Patriots offense might be bad enough that it doesn't matter and the Dolphins could win like 9-6 or something like that.
Oh, wouldn't that be something?
I'm not even saying that I
give
would
it to me
that.
again, baby.
I'm not even saying that I would pick that. I'll save my prediction for the end of the show, but like That's the saving grace. But to answer your question, do the Dolphins offense have a leg up? Until this Dolphins offense can show any sort of competence, they don't have a leg up on anybody.
I mean, that's fair. It's fair to say. And I would tend to agree with you. At this point, it's hard to predict that the Dolphins offense is going to have any success at all. I would love to see them run the ball because I think that's an area where they should be able to theoretically take advantage and maybe use some of Snoop Huntley's athleticism. And hopefully that's something that Mike McDaniel will consider and actually slow things down and dumb things down and allow that to factor into the game plan so that that is something that the Dolphins can hopefully be competent at. Whether that actually happens remains to be seen. Next, we're going to talk about the Dolphins and the side of the ball where they're actually maybe having a little bit of success. Is that a thing? We're going to talk about the Dolphins defense.
Relative.
But first, a word from our sponsor.
The DolphinsTalk.com podcast network is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, and all of the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a birthday gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive, Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Not in South Florida? No worries. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home, and they'll ship it to you. International fans, too. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com.
So, Brain, Miami Dolphins defense has gotten a lot of praise because it has looked pretty good thus far. And I think in terms of the eye test, you would say that Anthony Weaver's defense is doing pretty all right. I'll say doing pretty all right. The thing is, you look at the stats, and I mean, the big one that everybody's quoting this year is right now is that the Dolphins are the best third down defense in the NFL. And that I think speaks to something that the Dolphins are doing right, which is good. And that is something to be lauded. But I would say that all of the talk of the Dolphins defense performing really well needs to be taken with at least a little bit of a grain of salt. First of all, the Dolphins Bills game was basically not competitive in the second half of the game. And as soon as Tua got hurt, the Bills stopped playing, essentially. So that was basically the whole fourth quarter where the Dolphins defense didn't have to do much. The other thing that I will say is that the Dolphins have made so many poor decisions going for it on fourth down. They have given their opponents so many short fields that they've lost these games, and the opponents haven't had to do a whole lot on offense because rather than having to go on a 70, 80, 90-yard touchdown drive, these teams are having to only go 30, 40 yards, and they're scoring a touchdown. And so that, I think, is one of those things that you have to consider when evaluating the Dolphins defense from a statistical standpoint. They just haven't forced these teams to do a whole lot. And, so that is, something that for me at least is coloring those numbers.
Well, yeah, I think the Dolphins defense has been fine, but it's like relative.
Yeah, it's been fine, but I don't think it's quite as good as the numbers might have you believe.
Well, I don't even think the numbers, it depends what numbers you're looking at. If you're looking at like total yards, that's one thing. If you're looking at like yards per play, from a yards per play basis, they're like right in the middle of the league. They're like 14th. And frankly, I think even that is probably a little bit inflated for, it's not just, obviously there's the Buffalo game. I think the Buffalo game is a great example of like really what we've seen for the last 3 games, which is at a certain point, the opposing team understands that there's no need to push the envelope. we're just going to play a conservative game. We're fine with punting the ball to the Dolphins offense because the Dolphins offense is not a threat. So if you've got a lead and you're up by 2 scores in a game, like, it doesn't matter how much time is left in the game. You can afford to be really conservative against this team, and you don't need to move the ball up and down the field. And, look, the Dolphins defense has had some nice stretches. They've also had some stretches where they've been gashed. And I think that's kind of where they are right now. I think they're a middle of the road defense. I think the thing that you could be excited about is that I think if you came into this season with the Dolphins defense being the biggest question mark, you thought to yourself, well, this is a defense kind of similar to last year in that you've got a new defensive coordinator, you're learning a new defense, you've got some new pieces in there, and that it's a defense that should get better as the season goes on. Now, obviously, losing Jaelan Phillips is not helping that equation out. But in general, if you believe that by learning the defense, players getting more experience, that this defense will get better gradually as the season goes on, then this team being a middle of the road defense right now, that's fine. If this was a middle of the road defense, but the offense was doing what they were supposed to be doing, we'd probably be at minimum 3-1 right now.
Right. That was what I was as I was listening to you talk, I was thinking, yep, that's exactly the situation. Is that if the Dolphins offense was doing what we expected the Dolphins offense to do, this defense would be like, yeah, we'd be right there. We'd be right where we want to be in terms of how this defense is performing.
But it's fine. It's like the defense has not been great. They got off to slow starts the first 3 weeks. The offense didn't help them out in those games, but the defense, didn't really do their job in those games early on. And then the defense kept them in those games, to not so much the Bills game, but kept them in the Jacksonville game so that they could come back. Although, like, let's be real, like Javon Holland's solo effort to punch out a ball to cause a fumble on the goal line is a very low percentage of success. And if he doesn't make that play, this is an 0-4 team, and it's a defense that we're not lauding for keeping them in the game against Jacksonville either. We're really talking about a defense that has kept them alive in 2 games against Seattle and Tennessee. Whatever. Like it's whatever. It's not nothing that the defense has done is that exciting.
No, but but I suppose that's also, you could also look at it and go, well, at least it's not that exciting from the other perspective either. At least the bottom hasn't fallen out over there. For as bad as the offense has been, at least the defense has not been equally bad, right?
Well, it kind of, look, if you're on the field the entire game, like eventually the dam is gonna break.
But that is a same old Dolphins story as old as time.
And that's what's happened the last 2 games late in the game. But yeah, look, the defense is the stronger side of the 2 sides, but it's not saying much considering the offense has been as putrid as it's been.
Right. And I think if anybody had told you going into the season that the Dolphins defense was going to be stronger than the offense, that would have raised some alarms.
You'd either be saying, wow, the Dolphins are for sure a Super Bowl team, or something's gone drastically wrong. And well, it's the latter.
So, Brain, do you think that the Dolphins defense should be able to stop Jacoby Brissett? Let me say that again. Jacoby Brissett and the New England Patriots high-octane offense.
They should be fine from a passing game perspective. It's not so much different than Tennessee, but they actually have less talent on the outside than Tennessee. Jacoby Brissett is probably on par with what's his face? Not Will Levis, the guy who came up, Mason Rudolph. He's about on par. Just a very conservative, check down, gonna just take what you give them short underneath passes. He's going to hold on to the ball forever. Like, it's the same kind of quarterback that you're playing. They've got less talent at receiver. You're getting, some guys back on the defensive side of the ball. So you should be better equipped to stop them. I'm a little concerned about the run defense, because one thing that the Patriots can do is they can run the football. But when they're that bad passing the ball, I think you can overcompensate defensively. I don't think you need to play a super conservative game on the back end, worried about, the Patriots beating you for big chunk gains when it's Jacoby Brissett and that receiving core. So I think you can play a lot of heavy boxes, gear up to stop the run, and I think this becomes a field position football game unless the Dolphins are able to get out to some kind of lead. I think the defense should have the upper hand in this game.
All right. So I tend to agree with you. I tend to not be too worried about anything that the Patriots are going to do on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know how many people out there are. So then I think, Brain, I think we know what time it is. And I think it's time to check our pulse.
Check your pulse if you're not fired up.
So coming into this game against the Patriots, and I realize we're doubling up here. We're doing a pulse check, and we're going to do #1HotTake in the same show, because we didn't have time to do a pulse check on Monday after the game. And I mean, my pulse was through the roof, but not in the right way. But Brain, this is where we ask you for one word to describe how you are feeling about the Miami Dolphins right now. Brain, how are you feeling?
Look, you're playing a bad team. Yeah, you're going on the road. You should have the upper hand from a talent perspective, virtually across the board. You can make your argument that the quarterback play and the offensive line, but I mean, aside from that, I think everywhere else, the Dolphins have advantages all over the field, and you can make a strong case for why the Dolphins should win this football game. But at this point, we've seen two of the worst offensive performances that we've seen from this franchise in my lifetime. And we've seen really bad quarterback play in my lifetime. So I can't say with any confidence that we're going to see anything great. And so as much as I think that the Dolphins have a good shot at winning this football game, at this point, I don't know how you feel anything other than pessimistic. I feel pessimistic. I can see this thing turning around. I can see the Dolphins winning this football game. But until they actually show it, there's no reason for me to believe that it's going to happen. There's no reason for me to believe that Mike McDaniel at this point is going to change what he's going to do. Nothing that he said in his press conference indicates any level of accountability for what they're doing. It's just we need to execute better. And there's a disconnect between the preparation of the week versus the product that's out there. There's no accountability for maybe we just need to simplify things, get rid of all the shifts, or not even all of it, just get rid of like some of it, because these procedural issues, the illegal shifts, the false starts, it's just not working. It's getting them into bigger holes than it would benefit. Like, there's no benefit to it. Like, at some point, you just have to scrap what you're doing and get back to the drawing board and come up with a new plan. But I have no faith that he's going to do that. I think he is just going to triple down and say, look, it's all there for us. We can do the same thing. We just need to do it better. But it's like, you could do it better. And what's that going to get you? 12 points? Like, it's just, I have no faith that this thing is going to get turned around. And frankly, even if they were to win, because they're playing a bad Patriots team, I have no faith that that's going to mean a whole lot in the long run for this team. So yeah, at this point, I am very much pessimistic.
I understand that feeling. Let us know how you're feeling. If you're watching us live, let us know in the comments. If you're listening or watching after the fact, let us know in the comments on the YouTube channel, on the I'm a Miami Dolphin fan Facebook page. Tell us, how are you feeling? One word. Tell us right now. We have some answers here in the chat. Jordan Murray feels lethargic. Matthew Blue is resigned, excuse me. Renegade 76 is nauseated. I get that. And Mr. McDolphin feels SOD. Same old Dolphins. And to be honest with you, I feel that way. Oh, here's Rainier Quevedo says sick. But I'll tell you how I'm feeling. I'm exhausted. We're 4 weeks into the season. Things have gone off the rails again. And we, yet again, as Dolphin fans, find ourselves in this cycle where in the third year of a head coach, our team just seems to go off the rails. The only time that a coach sort of didn't go off the rails, well, Flores didn't even make it to, he did make it to a third year as head coach, right? And it was, things didn't go off the rails, but then he got fired because, wasn't on board with the tank and there were all this other stuff. And, we know that whole story. But I'm exhausted that we find ourselves here yet again in this situation with the Miami Dolphins, where you've got people questioning the rebuild, questioning the build of the team for good reason. And we're here and things are we just can't have nice things in Miami. And I'm just exhausted. So with that being said, it's now time for your one hot take. So Brain, what is your one hot take for Dolphins at Patriots on Sunday?
My one hot take is that Odell Beckham Jr. is going to catch a touchdown pass in his first game as a Miami Dolphin.
Oh, I like that. Brain coming through with a positive hot take.
Yeah, might come in garbage time.
Well, basura, whether it's basura or not, it's still important. So here's the question for all of y'all out there. Let us know, what is your hashtag one hot take for Dolphins at Patriots? Let us know in the comments. We put this out on the Twitter machine. We also put it out in the Discord server, which everybody is welcome to join if you're part of Dolphins Talk Extra, which you can do at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. But I put the question out there and we got a few answers there. One from Jamie V. Boyle scores a walk-off rushing touchdown to win the game. I love that. Rob Ashton, who came in and joined us live on the air for the watch along on Monday night. Rob Ashton in the Discord says, Snoop to rush for 50 plus yards. Here's Fish Pilot. Poor Fish Pilot getting over that awful beat on Monday, says Dolphins hold a lead for the first time in 270 days, which I love. Patrick Mullins hot take. Jacoby, this is again also in the Discord. Remember, if you're in the Discord, your stuff is definitely getting on the air. He says Jacoby has Dolphin brisket. Tyreek Hill destroys 4 tablets. Mike McDaniel cries. Chris Greer spotted peeking out of an electrical service doorway watching the game. Opie 108 says Dolphins with 3 turnovers lose the game. Alex Pena says, my hot take is that we score at least 2 offensive touchdowns. He says, I know I'm going on a limb, but I said it.
It's got to be a hot take.
What's that?
Got to be a hot take.
It is a hot take. It is a hot take. And Mr. McDolphin's hot take is Snoop connects with Tyreek on a 40-yard plus bomb for a touchdown. We like it. We like it. Got a few of them from the Twitter machine, and then we'll check out some of the ones that folks are leaving in the comments watching live. But Snoop Duck at SickBoy68 on the Twitter machine says, we tie 0-0. That is a hot take. And I love it. Let's see. Well, also great name, Snoop Duck. Jordan Murray says Chop Robinson does his chop dance as he sacks Brissett with a strip sack. Then the Dolphins on the next play turn the ball back over. The second part of it is not that hot of a take, but the first one is pretty good.
I see it happening.
Let's see. AC Cappuccini says they score a touchdown on their opening drive. If it's a hot take, I am assuming that means the Dolphins. Here's one from at Bond_out on Bond. Jordan Poyer racks up 4 tackles, all teammates. That's actually not that hot of a take. Let's see. Indy Fins fan Kaz says the defense scores more than the offense and win by 3. Hey, I'll take it. Here's a hot take from Somerset Tim. Miami will have more passing yards than the Pats. Here's a hot take from 305 Until I Die. Tyreek puts up 125 yards and a touchdown. Never thought that would be a hot take. There we are. Oh, Ian Carter thinks like you and says OBJ touchdown. And Nick Wiggler81 says Miami wins and scores 3 touchdowns. How about it? How about it? All right. Let's see what we got here in the comments, Brain. Let's see what we got here. We got, I'm just trying to get caught up, combing through. Jason Sanders sets a Dolphins record for longest field goal. That's really something. Bobby B says Scorigami 23-2. Matthew Blue says Tyreek catches a long touchdown pass that gets called back for holding. Rainier Cavedo, Sanders kicks 5 field goals. And let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, here we go. Frat Guy says, my hot take is that the entire offense shares one Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. There we go. I like it. For my one hot take, Brain, I'm going to go way out on a limb and say Alec Ingold receiving touchdown. That's my take.
I think I want to change it. I want to go blast from the past on this. My one hot take, Jake Bailey passing touchdown.
Oh, let's go. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. Jeez. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right. It's prediction time. Let us know what you think what your prediction is for the final score of this game. Brain, how you feeling? You taking the under on this? What's the line on this game, actually?
What is the line on this game? Where is it? The line is 36.5.
36.5. I'm smashing the under.
Yeah. I'm thinking look, I think the Dolphins have a chance. I think this is going to be a close game, but I mean, heck, even the game against Tennessee, I mean, that was a close game in the second half until it kind of fell apart. I think this is going to be the same. I don't think the Patriots are good enough to run away with it. I just don't have any faith that the Dolphins are going to be able to take advantage. So I think the Patriots get a tough, gritty win at home, 16-13.
Okay. I'll allow it. For my score prediction, I want to throw it back. Many years ago, our good friend Jersey Nick, who is in the Dolphins Talk Extra Discord community. He is a subscriber to Dolphins Talk Extra. But many, many years ago, he had an award-winning wrestling podcast called Future Endeavors. But he also had a lesser-known sports podcast called Matzo Balls and Strikes. And he developed if you want to call it a gimmick, you can call it a gimmick, but he developed a gimmick on that show that then carried over to when he would do guest spots on the previous incarnation of this podcast that some people may fondly recall. I mean, by some people, I mean like literally 36 people may recall a podcast called the Brothers of Destruction podcast. But on that show, we would make our predictions every week. And every week, Nick would find one game where he would give a very special prediction. He would make the same prediction every week, but it would be a different game. And he would pick a different winner depending on who was playing. But my prediction for this game on Sunday is a tribute to our good friend Nick. And I'm going to predict that the Miami Dolphins go on the road to Foxboro and defeat the New England Patriots by a score of 3-2. And that is going to wrap us up for this episode of the Same Old Dolphins Show. We will be back with you Monday night to react to the show. Monday night show, as always, now is only live for Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. So again, head to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk and become a Dolphins Talk Extra subscriber for as little as $3 a month. And you would get in on the live stream action on Monday. But other than that, once the show is after that, we will make the show available on demand as normal on YouTube. If you're a Dolphins Talk Extra subscriber, stay tuned because we've got a bonus segment coming up, and it's one that you are not going to want to miss. But everybody else, we will be back with you on Monday, and we thank you, as always, for listening. Tell you to take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, go Dolphins!
I got a vasectomy the other day, and that was less painful than what I've seen from the Dolphins the last 2 weeks.